how to execute large group training so that people keep coming back, are loving it, referring it, getting amazing results, and your gym and your coaching program stands out. I'm gonna show you how. Welcome back. This is Coach's Corner, or I don't know if I'm gonna call it Coach's Corner, but it's educational, all right? We're gonna talk about team training today. Remember, so team training for us here at Vigor Ground means large group training. It's up to or more than 20 people in a class. So before we even go deeper into this, I'm gonna give you like the very quick snapshot of my business, Vigor Ground Fitness and Performance. So when we started a long time ago, so this is, I'm coming up on 15 years of we're gonna be 17 years in our gym in Slovenia, 15 years here in Seattle. So we started with, our large group was called bootcamps. I'm sure everybody remembers those days where everything was called bootcamps. And shortly after, years afterwards, we changed it to team training, because team training, together, everybody achieves more, right? That's the acronyms for team. And I felt like coming from an athlete background and how teams, again, had this kind of resilience and this camaraderie, I really wanted to name it after that. And that was essentially, what we started with was large group, and I was doing also one-on-one personal training initially. Then very quickly I changed to semi-private personal training, which was up to 4 people in a group with completely customized programs. So each person would have an individual program, but I'd be coaching them together. Eventually, about 12, 13 years ago, I started doing small group strength personal training. So that was groups of up to 16 people with one general program that was very focused on strength and performance. And if you look around on YouTube, I have full videos breaking down exactly how I do those. I also have a course that is the whole system that I use with 12 months of programming, the whole shebang, right? And some one-on-one personal training, we still do it. It's very high ticket, very high level. So when I'm doing one-on-one personal training, it's very, very high ticket stuff. Okay, so again, that is the model, but I wanted to go over team training specifically more in detail. I mean, literally give you the breakdown. This could probably be a little bit of a course, but I'm gonna give it to you guys for free, right? So again, it's up to 20 plus in a class. Depending on how big your business is, that it might be 15 people because you got a very small gym. It might be 12, it might be whatever it may be, okay? But once my gym got bigger, we were doing classes of 50 people, 40 people, right? So we had all of that. It's one program for all. Right? Everybody does the same thing? Kinda, right? Kinda. What does that mean? Well, we have regressions, progressions, lateralizations. So that means that in each, for instance, class, we will have a baseline, right? So for example, kettlebell goblet squat, right? That's our baseline. But then somebody might have to go, TRX squat, because they're a very, very beginner, so they might support themselves with a TRX, and they're supporting themselves going down. So that might be the regression. Okay, progression might be they go heavier kettlebell, or they might go 1.5 reps, or they might do a 3-second eccentric, right? So every class will have that outline. And then what is a lateralization? Well, that means, and I'll give you a pure example. Somebody comes in and says, hey, like I don't have any cartilage in the knees, so I can't really go into deep knee flexion, right? And so our lateralization for that person might be a hinge, or it might be a hip thrust, because they feel fine doing that. Now, it's not the exact same pattern, but we're still working similar muscles. They're feeling great. Awesome, right? So that's the kind of part, okay? And then it's globally periodized. What does that mean? Well, listen, first of all, what's the goal? When we created team training, let me just explain, what the mentality behind it was. I actually did a big article in On It magazine for the On It company, breaking everything down, which we'll put a link in a copy below. But general fitness, quality movement, and fat loss, right? So it was the most affordable thing to have large groups, but I still wanted to make sure, look, these people are gonna get fitter, right, and improving their cardiovascular health. They're gonna move well, because we wanna make sure that their movement improves. And most people are coming in going like, hey, look, I wanna lose fat, right? That was just the reality of the clientele that was coming in, body transformation. So that was the thought process. Okay, like if I'm gonna program for a group of people, how am I going to do it? So I'm taking you through philosophy, and something that I say a good friend of mine, a mentor back in the day, was Alan Cosgrove, who had this hierarchy of fat loss training, right? And it was like, okay, what's this pyramid? When we look at fat loss training, at the bottom is nutrition / lifestyle habits, right? Nutrition is the most important part, which we're not going to dig into here. But again, as a coaching business, gym business, we provide our clients, even in a large group training, recipe books, ebook on nutrition. So we want to give them some guidelines here, right? But then for the fat loss training, the second kind of category is like We want them to burn calories and then promote or maintain muscle mass. Now, because this is a group training model, remember, I believe that somebody doing semi-private personal training or small group personal training is absolutely better because they get more individualization, they get more access, they're working on strength training. Yes, absolutely it's better. But I had to go, okay, in a group model, we want to then do this. We want the training to burn some calories, we want them to at least maintain, if not build some muscle mass, okay? So that's the hierarchy. Meaning if I got 3 hours a week, I'm gonna do this. Then the second, if we go one category up, is activities that burn calories and elevate metabolism, right? Again, you're burning more calories after the training session. So that would be metabolic zone / interval training, right? High intensity training. And then if we have more time, so that's like, if we have 5 hours, then we'd use these two modalities, right? So metabolic resistance training, interval training, and then at the top is just things that burn calories, which is aerobic. By the way, which I've done so much, I would say, content on this, we use cardio more to promote health, and then we really kind of work on the fat loss, weight loss, body composition through nutrition, lifestyle, and strength training, right? So, but the reality is that when folks are coming in, the reason we want to do the higher intensity stuff in groups is because they're not going to be doing it by themselves. That's why they're coming to you, right? They want the accountability, right? They want the environment, the camaraderie, the coaching to do that. So we just have to be realistic. And by the way, this has worked significantly well for us over time, right? When we were doing boot camps, we became very successful. We had, again, a lot of people. We continue to do that with team training, but now we just added other modalities, right? And so this is important. By the way, you see kind of like a little question mark here. I absolutely love heart rate monitors, right? And my favorite, I'm a little biased because Joe James is one of my best friends, is trainwithmorpheus.com, because it's more than just monitors. It's a whole system, measures HRV, your heart rate zones, everything, right? So I'm a big fan of it, but the truth is, you cannot, I would say, force everybody to get a heart rate monitor and track everything. So I will get to that when we're actually doing some of the program design and the models on the other side, okay? But I'm a big fan of heart rate monitors if clients can get them. By the way, which I would recommend as a gym owner and as a coach, you can do one of two things. Somebody signs up with you, right? You went to big box gyms where there's an initiation fee. So here's what I would recommend. Somebody signs up with you, there is an initiation fee of, like, for instance, $199. But instead of the initiation fee, you get nothing, but it's just some random fee. You get them a heart rate monitor that you can get, like you can get Train with Morpheus for, I think, $97, right? And they get, the app is free, it doesn't have a recurring model, so it's free, right? They get the strap, and all of a sudden they put the initiation fee in. Like, they get a t-shirt from you, they get a heart rate monitor from you, right? Maybe to get something else, a gift card for Fitbar or whatever else it may be. So now they're like, damn, like, it's Christmas, right? But you actually gave them something useful that now they can use in their training sessions, whether it's semi-private group training, whatever it may be. All right, from there I want to go to, logistics. And I forgot who explained this, but it's like, what is logistics? Well, logistics is just management of all things, right? What are the logistics of a large group training session? That's what we want to look at. So let's take an example, intervals, right? Just an example. When we talk about, here are the different modalities that we use. Let's look at an example of intervals, okay? This is our model of team training. We got 45 minutes, maybe 50, but usually it's like 45 minutes is kind of this is our breakdown of logistics of the time that we have. Our class structure is, our intro and warm-ups are gonna be around 10 minutes. When I say around 10 minutes, it's gonna be like 9 to 12, plus minus, you always got some room for that. And when I talk about intro, I've actually done a whole breakdown of the exact kind of, we always, in the intro, I always try to do something where it's motivation and focus and frame. So I'm gonna tell a story, I'm gonna give a point, where I'm gonna get people zoned in and focused, and then we're gonna warm up, okay, for 10 minutes. By the way, I got an example warm-up on the other side as well. From there, we're gonna go to demoing 3 to 5 minutes. I've talked about this before. I have a video, it's called The DNA of a World-Class Group Training Session. I go into detail about all these little things as well. But the reason, you gotta get good at demoing, right? If your demo is taking you 7 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes, people are already cooling down, they're getting bored, so you have to be engaging for 3 to 5. Right? I'm gonna go through everything we're gonna do, I'm gonna explain it clearly. right? And everybody's gonna be clear on what we're doing before we go train. So the thing is that you have to practice that to get good, just like anything else. It's a show. You're putting on a performance, okay? From there, we got 20 to 30 minutes of actual work, of actual training, right? And because it is pretty intense, it's enough. And then we finish off 2 to 5 minutes with finishers and closures. So closure, you guys know I love telling stories, bringing it in, making a point, getting people, I guess, not just riled up, but like connecting the work to something meaningful, right? Talked about the book, The Power of Moments from Chip and Dan Heath, about how it's very important how you end something, right? So that's why we end the training session with something meaningful, bring it in. We always go, 1, 2, 3, team, right? Everybody says team training. So that's our class structure. But then here's the thing, you gotta ask yourself, total numbers, right? When you're doing this, how big is your gym? What are the total numbers of the training session? So we use Vigor Pro, and Vigor Pro, when people check in, we can see how many people are gonna be in that training session. So if you're prepared ahead of time, like, oh, okay, cool, I got 18 people in this team training session this morning, right? So when we're doing that, but like, what is your max? Like our max, I mean, we could have 60, no problem, right? But the thing is, you're gonna program differently for 60 people than you are for 15 or 20. Okay, so one, what is your max in team training for your business? You might have an 800 square foot gym, 2,000, 5,000, whatever it may be. So you gotta know that, okay? You gotta know your room size and space. Again, these seems like things that are like, oh, it's whatever, but I promise you, I've done this for a long time, and I fly around the country and consult and help people create incredible team trainings, because sometimes it's like they program as if they have a bigger space than they do, or they have equipment, right? If they have equipment, I would say restrictions. I only have, 2 of this, but I got a class of 24 people. Whoop, this is not gonna work out well. So I have to understand my restrictions for room size, space, because that's a big and important thing, and I have to know which equipment I have available, okay? Also, coaching, you want 1 to 2, 3 at most, but usually I will not go past 2 coaching intensive exercises in a whole training session / circuit, okay? If you have, 2 to 3 different circuits of 3 exercises, and each one of them has an intensive exercise, meaning a kettlebell clean, right? Or a kettlebell swing. Those are more intensive coaching exercises. Now, one person down there is doing a kettlebell clean, one person here is doing a swing. Here we're doing some type of maybe double clean, a goblet squat, or something that's a little more complex, USB lunge. I'm now all over the place, and I cannot teach these technical exercises, right? So it's too much, and it's too much for people. Again, if people get frustrated, they will not like the class. If they get bored, they will not like the class. You have to find that sweet spot. So doing too much complex stuff, no bueno. The other thing is the maximal amount of exercises should be 10, right? Once you start going past 10, and even 10 is on that higher limit, but once you start going past that, what starts happening is like people can't remember it. You gave, first of all, it's hard for you to break down all of those in the demo that's 3 to 5 minutes. So imagine you got 12 exercises, right? Your demo is 3 to 5 minutes. Demoing 12 exercises, even if you do it in 30 seconds each, in between, that's gonna be like an 8-minute explanation, if not more, right? So you gotta think about the logistics of everything, okay? So no more than 10 exercises. If you've been doing more than that, you gotta go, I'm telling you, go back to the board and like redo it, and I promise you it'll be better, okay? And remember, a lot of times you'll get people that are beginners / intermediate. That's a lot of exercise. Like, this is gonna be overwhelming. Remember, overwhelm is not good for a client or a new person, because that overwhelm creates anxiety. Anxiety creates what, right? Decisions that usually don't help them get the goals that they want to hit, right? So we also want to think about the theme of the class, the different training splits, and the progressions and regressions. And again, we're gonna get to that, right? When we do that, we're gonna get to like some models and examples. They're gonna really help you out and just kind of like see it, right? In action, and the different things that we do. How do we split up our team training? We have conditioning, so that's our intervals, right? That's literally like, we'll call it conditioning. Then we have density strength. The reason it's density strength, you'll see what I'm talking about, because in conditioning, we're usually gonna use exercises that are more metabolically demanding. And we'll be doing things like battling ropes, movement-based throws, right? So again, where there's more velocity, the heart rate goes up more. In density strength, we'll be using exercises that have some more time and attention. Goblet squats, push-ups, TRX rows, lunges, RDLs, right? And even though this is not going to be the same as when we do small group personal training, because then we can really load stuff up, or one-on-one or semi-private, which is really individual. I can go trap bar deadlift for 3 RM, stuff like that. We're not going to do that in team training, but it's still going to be a little bit more strength-based, because remember what we said here. We want to promote or maintain muscle mass. So the density strength is going to help us with that. And then we have mobility, right? And mobility is where we're going to go use all types of different methods to help people move better. Whether it's FRC stuff, DNS, I mean, you name it, right? But it's more of a recovery session. I've actually done a full vlog video on something called a rebound workout, high performance recovery training, a rebound workout, which is this: improve mobility, get the body to recover, feel better. We do some aerobic based stuff in there. Again, you can check that out on YouTube. I've done it. You can get it for free. So those are kind of like our themes here, what we're going to show on the other side. And we'll talk about the flaws and the trade-offs of team training versus other stuff. And how do we plan? Like, how do we plan and organize? I'll show you guys that. Now, here's the thing, also what you have to do as part of the logistics. If somebody new shows up, perfect example. I had multiple new people in my small group strength training. I had 2 new people this week in one of my team trainings. Knew ahead of time, very important. Again, have some type of client management software, so if somebody signs them up, that there's communication and that they're coming. Number one, again, we have Vigor Pro, which is our client management software that we've transitioned to. But if you have anything else, whether it's Implant or whatever it may be, right, just knowing, oh, this new person's coming in, I can see their picture, right? Ideally, I'd have some notes on there too, as like, do they have any restrictions, right? Knee pain, this, that, the other, because the way that you can connect with that client when you come in and like, hey, Mary, hey, it's great to see you. I know just signed you up, but also I already know like you have some issues with your knees. Don't worry, we're gonna make some modifications. I'm gonna take you through once we do our breakdown of the training session today. I'm gonna show you the regression that's gonna be the best fit for you. They're gonna be like, whoa, shit, like I haven't talked to this coach at all, and they know what's going on with me. I feel heard, taken care of, understood, I feel safe. Guess what happens to the customer experience, right? It skyrockets. So that's big. But you got to know what happens when somebody else shows up, and that's why you got to be there early so you can shake the hand, smile, talk to them, make them feel comfortable is very important. Also, people with common orthopedic concerns, low back pain, knee pain, shoulder issues. In a lot of our programming, you'll actually see we don't do a ton of overhead stuff. Now, do we do some of that? Yes. Instantly, there is a regression. So for instance, if we have an overhead, if we have a push press, a dumbbell push press, there's a lot of people that can't get overhead. This is gonna crank their neck, their shoulder. They're gonna have to arch back to get there, right? Or they're gonna finish here. So we don't want that. What do? Boom, we have a push press with a landmine. So now they can get that scapular protraction, right? They feel safe, they're not cranking their shoulder. So again, we wanna know right from the get-go, what are the main things that people are gonna have? What are the things that we can switch them up to? Because I'm telling you right now, there's a huge difference professionally. If you go to a gym and it's like, oh, hey, this is bugging me, and somebody goes, right? They look frazzled, they kind of just give you something, versus the coach going like, yep, definitely. Actually, I read that in your profile. No problem. Here's the 2 different things that we'll do here. We're gonna do this one first, right? And you coach them up, and it's like, how does that feel? Well, that feels good. Actually, I don't feel it. Awesome, right? You're prepared. They see that you're prepared. They see that you're professional. Big difference and game changer, okay? So, and again, we're gonna, like, as we go into the programming side right here, you will see the differences, okay? Now, first of all, when we do dynamic warm-ups, they have to be, right, when we do our dynamic warm-ups for semi-private training, it's definitely, I would say, very individualized, right, for what they need. Here, it's pretty general, right? We got a big group, we're gonna go pretty general on this stuff. So, let's look at like the things that I'm thinking about when we come to dynamic warm-ups. Breathing reset, okay? I'm gonna be honest with you, we don't always do this, more so for time, but I do love doing these. Sometimes actually we'll do them at the end. Breathing reset might be a couple of minutes, minute and a half, box breathing. 4-second exhalation, hold for 4 seconds, 4-second inhalation, hold for 4 seconds, right? Just getting those tissues to down-regulate. Most people come in very stressed out. So we might do a breathing reset. But then we're gonna do 2 hip mobility activation drills, right? This can be a lot of different things, okay? This can be a couch stretch, right? Just doing a positional breathing, couch stretch, opening up the hips. And then from there, we might have, like, for instance, a 90-90 hip shift and a tie sit, or some type of, again, I circled combos here because I do love combinations. Why? Because they save you time. So for example, think of a downward dog into a Spider-Man lunge, right, with a thoracic opener, right? So that's 3 different things, right? We're getting, actually it's 4, because we're getting some shoulder flexion, we're getting some hamstrings opened up, then we're getting our hips opened up and glute stretch, and we're getting thoracic rotation. And that's all in one drill. So we'll go that through a combo. But I want to do some, a couple hip mobility activation drills. I want to do something to open up the thoracic spine, right, to get rotation in our thoracic spine. Something that's going to work on the ankle. And again, that can be in a combo, right? That can be in a combo. For instance, ankle and squat pattern. Guess what? Doing a squat to stand, right? So if I do a squat to stand and I pull myself down, whoop, right? And I'm in that squat to stand position, and then I'm going to pry my hips here, open up the ankle, work some ankle mobility, right? And then coming back up, that's a combo. We're gonna knock out a bunch of birds with one stone here. Single leg stance, again, doing, like, for instance, being in a lunge position, moving across, rotating, right? Doing those dynamic patterns. Again, lunge and single leg stance. The other thing that we love doing is doing some stability stuff. So it's high knee position, going back down into RDL, right? And then we're always going to finish with some locomotion, like movement skills. So it might be, skips, A skips, B skips, lateral slides, things that get us moving, get the core temperature up, and also activate the CNS. Jumps, pogo jumps, always love finishing with that, high knees, right? And then just ramping that up. And again, this is going to be somewhere in that 10-minute range, plus minus, okay? And the thing is, while I'm doing that, I'm also coaching, I'm talking, I'm creating a frame for the training session. Then what I wanted to cover first is the density strength, and just give you some, like, an outlook for it, okay? So usually it's going to be like, a lot of what we use is like total body strength, right? So when we're doing density strength in this, honestly, in most of our programming, it's going to be full body for a number of reasons, right? Like splitting from lower, upper, stuff like that. Why does it become troublesome? Because people are a lot of times going to not have consistent schedules. So now all of a sudden, if they're coming in and it's just like they're just doing an upper body, not the best bet. For most people, for general fitness, quality movement, fat loss, we want full body programs. Same thing with strength training for most, okay? So that's why we do total body A-B, because most of the time, and we call this a 2+2. So for people that join team training, we literally say, hey, if you can get 2 density strength sessions and 2 interval sessions per week, that's not too much of your time. Most people can do that. Like 4 sessions a week, they're 45 minutes long, 60 minutes long if you do small group personal training. Like that's very possible for most, right? It's not like, hey, come to the gym 7 days a week for an hour and a half, okay? So we call it 2+2. But this is an A-B-A split, right? So A-B-A, B-A-B, so on and so forth. Or density circuits, which is like a every minute on the minute, right? So we might do something where we're doing a certain amount of reps, and then on a minute you start the next exercise. I like to rotate these 3 weeks, okay? I'm not saying that we don't do 4 weeks, but you can rotate 3 weeks, okay? Now, I gave a 4-week example because what are muscle building rep ranges, right? That 8 to 15. So you could go the first 3 weeks is phase 1, and you go 15 reps, right? The next 3 weeks you do 12. The next 3 weeks you do 10. The next 3 weeks you do 8, right? And you rotate through the 3 weeks. And that way there's a good amount of change in that large group model, right? But we're still progressing and doing it in a certain format. I gave an example here of a strength training session that has 3 blocks, okay? So block 1, and for example, let's say this is phase 1. So we do our dynamic warm-ups, we do our ramp-ups, we do all that good stuff, okay? And then the first block, we're doing kettlebell deadlifts for 15 reps and then push-ups for 15 reps. And literally, you're going, and you're taking a decently challenging weight. So if you're doing a kettlebell deadlift, you could probably do 20 reps or maybe even a little bit more with what you're doing for 15, okay? But here's what's happening, right? Like we're gonna keep going for those 8 minutes. We're gonna have a certain amount of volume in there. Then we're gonna have a break. Next block, 8 minutes. Sandbag reverse lunges, right, in this position, 15, TRX rows for 15. And you have those progressions and regressions. So remember, here, you'll always have something to regress to. Maybe an elevated kettlebell deadlift, maybe it's we'll say a less load, or it might be elevated. Right here, we might even go to like where it's a double KB, or even a trap bar deadlift possibly, right? This all depends also on the space that you have. Push-ups, again, regressing, it might be elevated on a barbell, higher up. It might be, I would say on the knees on the ground. Progressing it might be adding load, might be doing slower tempos. There's a ton of different ways. It's way easier to progress it, right? If you could do a ton of stuff there. Sandbag reverse lunges, TRX rows. Block 3, we got kettlebell goblet squat with hollow hold with a band pull apart, right? Getting a little bit more upper back work for most people and implementing core, right? And you can see that's 24 minutes, and with the breaks in between, we're gonna kind of follow that framework. Now we could go through a bunch more, but you can see this model, right? Because here's the other thing too. We could do 2 12-minute blocks and have 2, maybe even 3 exercises in those 12-minute blocks following the same format, right? So there's many ways to skin a cat here, but I want you to see how this goes, right? We could do 4 6-minute blocks, but then we'd follow that for those 3 weeks, and now those rep ranges getting better, and then we change it up, right? So you can see between like how I just wanted to give you a format and the philosophy and principles of how we can still apply some strength training. Again, now the pace is going to be pretty big. We're going to get a decent amount of volume. We're working in those hypertrophy ranges. Is it ideal? No. Right? Is it optimal? No. Is it effective? Yes. Especially, we started doing our team training in that 197 a month range. We're up a bit now, but people are getting a lot, right? So, hey, we got something that's going to either maintain your muscle, and for a lot of beginners and even intermediates, you'll be able to build some muscle. If you're progressing this, having progressive overload, you're going to build muscle. And I got, hundreds of success stories of before and after pictures of people that just did team training, lost a bunch of fat, built muscle, looked better, right? And it's like, it works. Now, again, what is better? Doing semi-private training, doing small group personal training in cohesion with that, absolutely. But this gives you an example, and you can play around with this as much as possible, right? Because this would be workout A. If we're doing an A-B split, then we'd have a B split, right? And then B split might be a single leg RDL variation and a landmine press, for example, right? Or a yoga push-up might be a regression to that, right? Block 2, now we might have a side lunge with reach, okay, with a dumbbell. And here we might have some type of vertical pull, like a TRX pike pull-up, okay? Block 3, we might have a bridge variation, so a hip thrust, and from a hip thrust, maybe we have another, again, horizontal row, because we just tend to like to have more rows in there, right? So that would be an A-B split. Boom, we're hitting that A-B split for 3 weeks at that 15 rep range, switching it up, then going to like a 12 for the next 3 weeks, right? So it's simple, organized, logistics are there. I promise you, first of all, you got a lot of leeway, right? You can do a lot of cool stuff here, right? Play around with exercises that fall into like, hey, let's make sure we get all the movement patterns in, and let's make sure that we progress it, changing up the rep ranges. It's changing up pretty frequently, and people are getting results. Okay, so that is our density strength model, kind of like quick. When we get to our conditioning model, okay, we got more options. So I'm going to give you guys a bunch of different options because I want you to see, again, that there's a lot of things that you can play around with here. And what I've seen a lot when I've gone around, when it comes to workouts, when it comes to like interval workouts, is tons, plugging in tons of novelty, but less structure and logistics, right? So now it's just like, hey, what are some cool exercises that people can do? Let's blast the music, let's have great energy. So there's less structure, there's less coaching. I would say there's less organization to make sure that people are doing well and progressing. And I think that it kind of hurts the program, especially long term, okay? So conditioning, that's our high intensity intervals. And remember what we talked about, like, I think the zone 2 aerobic conditioning is very, very important, but we're not like, when people pay us for coaching in our time, right, we're not gonna necessarily be watching them do zone 2 cardio. I like outlining it. I think it's, when we do our recovery mobility workouts, great, but when they come in, we're gonna do high intensity intervals. Also, there's density conditioning. I'll show you guys an example of this. This is a lot of times heart rate based, meaning like that's where the heart rate monitors come into play even more. And positive work to rest ratio. So we don't do as much. I'm not saying we never do it, but like things like 60 seconds on, 15 seconds off. Because when you do that, essentially it becomes aerobic work, right? Because you cannot maintain high intensity, you know, doing 60 seconds of something and then only having 15 seconds of break and then doing 60 seconds again. Your heart rates are gonna usually drop and you're gonna be in aerobic zone and it's gonna not look great. A lot of times they can get sloppy, right? And remember, I just did a live with Joel and we were talking about the importance of movement efficiency under fatigue. As a coach, that is your responsibility, meaning, you know, if we're doing high knees and, you know, they're looking great at the beginning and then people get tired and it's just like, right, and the form goes to shit, that's not good because now they're practicing to be inefficient. So risk of injury goes up. You know, when they get fatigued, that's what it's going to look like. Our responsibility as a coach is to coach them up, but it's also to create programming that is going to, I would say, allow for better form. So here's all the different, well, I should say not all of them, but a lot of the modalities when it comes to conditioning. We have fixed work and fixed recovery. That one's pretty simple. It's 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Nothing wrong with that. It's probably the most kind of generic. Time and a place to use all of those things, obviously, but we could also do better when it comes to individualization, even with groups. Then we have fixed work and variable recovery, okay? The fixed group of fixed work, variable recovery is usually heart rate based, which I love, meaning, hey, 30 seconds of work, and then you're gonna go again when your heart rate falls below 130. So let's say we do, when I said density conditioning, so we got 10 minutes, okay? I'm gonna have you do 12 kettlebell swings and then 12 jam ball slams, okay? And I want you to push the hell out of it. Okay, heart rate gets up to 165, go again when your heart rate is under 130 again. There's gonna be two different people. Like one person is going to, guess what, right? Like might have 20, 30 seconds, boom, they're going again. Another person might need 60 seconds, right? Because they're deconditioned. So one person might get 3 to 4 rounds in those 10 minutes, another person might get 7 to 8 rounds. They're based on different fitness level. So that's an example. We have variable work, variable recovery, okay? Variable work, variable recovery may be something like a recovering distances, okay? So we might be like, hey, listen, sprint 50 yards or do this thing, right? Which means it might start taking you longer to do. So it's a variable work. Variable recovery, again, we might go, hey, listen, get down to a certain heart rate. Fixed work, progressive recovery. We actually use this a lot. It doesn't need heart rate monitors, but for example, when people get more tired, their form usually gets worse, so they get more tired, we're gonna give them a little more break. So this might be like, hey, we start with 30 seconds of work, 30 seconds of rest. We do that for a couple rounds, and then we go 30 seconds of work, 40 seconds of rest for 2 rounds. Then we go 30 seconds of work, 50 seconds of rest. So I'm gonna show you guys an example of that in a workout. And then regressive work, fixed recovery. It's similar where the recovery is fixed, but again, we start doing less and less, meaning it could even be like, hey, we'll start with doing 20 kettlebell swings and we go to 18 to 60. There's a lot of different variations to do that, right? It might even just be time. We start with 20 seconds of all out sprinting, then we go to 15 and we go to 10, right? So, but the fixed recovery period is, for instance, 30 seconds, okay? Then you got all types of different, I would say, modalities to deliver that. Stations, very easy, right? So we do a lot of that, obviously, stations where people are moving around, they're fixed. TRX rows, we got kettlebell swings, we got lateral slides, we got this, that, the other. Partner circuits, fixed work with fixed rest, which is, I actually love this for, if you're ever doing, we do a lot of charity events. I love this from an energy standpoint. This is one of my favorites, by the way. Partner circuits is like this. Partner is doing something for 30 seconds, kettlebell swings. The other person's cheering them on, even coaching them, right? It's kind of like you can double the coaches in the room. You got 40 people, 20 of them are working, 20 of them are coaching them on. Great job, snap those hips, awesome, keep going. 30 seconds is up, boom, switch it up, other person goes. Because the thing is, the coaching is active recovery, right? When you're coaching somebody up, your heart rate's still gonna be up. So I love these, by the way. Variable stations and be time blocked, right? This is what I was talking about, and I'll show you guys an example of this as well. Where we have a time block, we got certain things that we're doing, right? And again, you can do it without heart rate monitors or you can do it with heart rate monitors. Ideally, you do heart rate monitors, but the reality is that not everybody's gonna have them. I gave you an example of how you can get your gym with an initiation fee to give them the monitor and then get them to start using it during the training sessions. Again, I love I would say the Morpheus Coach, which allows you to even put everything up on a screen, kind of like MyZone, but better, but a lot better because it has your individualized training zones. Okay, but that's where you can do that. You got mode grouping. We have 1, 2, 3s, 4s, and 5s, where you can group people into different, I guess, stations, and then complex class. You can switch that up. And actually, I'll show you guys like different examples here, because you can work different, I would say, modalities of work to rest, and you can use different modalities when it comes to delivery of the actual group training program. But let's look at one where we're going to do like 3 different groups, right? So if I got a class of 20 people or so, I'm going to put, 7, 7, 6, 6. Did I do my math right? I definitely did. I'm going to do 6, 6, and 8, for example, right? One group of 6, one group of 6, one group of 8. So we got a station here, and one group is doing Airdyne bikes, dumbbell squat, Dynaball squat and throw, right? So squat down, throw it up against the wall, consistent, and then alternating step-ups on a box, okay? And that group is gonna go, round 1 and 2, they're gonna do 30 seconds of work on each one. 30 work, 30 rest, right? So they do 30 seconds of work on a bike, then rest 30 seconds here, rest 30 seconds here, rest 30, then do it again, okay? Then everybody switches, and then this group is gonna go to group 2, group 3 is gonna go to group 1. But now, the second time around, we're gonna do 30 seconds of work, 40 seconds of rest, right? They're more fatigued, same amount of work, but we're gonna give them a little longer rest period so they can still push the intensity and have that quality movement and get after it, right? Then they'll switch up again, and then the last one, they're gonna go 30 seconds of work, 50 seconds of rest, right? So that was fixed work progressive recovery, and we split them up into circuits, right? So I should say variable stations. So you can see how like this one works here, okay? Then we got another example where we're going straight circuits here, right? On stations, we got kettlebell swings, Airdyne bike, medicine ball throws. So think about being at a wall. We're just throwing those rotational throws, just one side. We got banded lateral slides, USB, which is a sandbag. We have rotational reverse lunges with the sandbag, and we got squat thrust and floor slam. So imagine that I'm here, I got a Dynaball, I'm going squat thrust up, and then I'm slamming it. Reset, squat thrust, boom, slamming it, right? So 6 exercises, we're gonna go 4 rounds through. So 24 minutes. First round, 30-20. Second round, 30-30, 30-40, 30-50. Again, now we're doing stations, and we're doing that fixed work with progressive recovery. Okay, so again, these are a couple of examples. So I'm going to basically wipe this down, come back, and give you some more examples. Because what I wanted to show you is the amount of different ways that you can do stuff, that as soon as you change a modality, a person feels like it's a different workout, even though we're doing a lot of the same exercises, right? So I think people want to switch movement patterns up and try too much novelty on exercises rather than having this availability of, I would say, principles and methods that they can use to make the training fun, challenging, and progressive. So moving on to some other examples. Now, these are very, very heart rate based, okay? I love this, but again, our goal here at Vigor too is to get pretty much just about, if we can get, everybody's gonna be difficult, but as many people as possible on heart rate monitors. I'll explain how you can do this without them. It's definitely not as good from the scientific standpoint, but still. So this would be zone training type stuff, right? So example, let's say we have 4 different stations of 2 exercises, and each one's gonna be a 6-minute block. So remember we talked about these density blocks of conditioning, and we got kettlebell swings and a ski erg, all right? So what we're gonna tell the client, say, hey, work up to 85% of your maximum heart rate, right? And now the thing is, if you have something like Train with Morpheus, you'll know what that is, right? It'll say, hey, listen, I need you to get to the top of the green or bottom of the red, and then I want you to rest. Now, this could be generic too. You could go like, hey, I want you to get up to 170 plus beats per minute, and then I want you to recover to, 130 beats per minute, right? So even if you don't have like something like Train with Morpheus and you just have heart rates, right? So do your kettlebell swings until you get to 170 beats per minute plus, okay? And then I want you to recover to 130 beats a minute, and then I want you to go to ski erg, and I want you to push that as hard as you can until you get to 170 plus, rest on 130, and keep going for 6 minutes between those two exercises, right? Then we do a 2-minute break. Those 2-minute breaks are a great coaching opportunity, right? Coaching opportunity, give people focus, talk to them about dynamic energy control, hands on the knees, exhale long, inhale through the nose, bring their heart rate down faster so they can actually work on getting their heart rate down faster. Because again, this is something you can teach. So again, a great coaching opportunity to separate you from in your business. Then we got like a goblet lateral alternating lunge, right? So we're going lateral lunge one side, lateral lunge other side. Same thing, get up to 170, battling ropes. That'll get your heart rate up high. We flip-flop between that. So you can see that. Rotational slams, jumping lunges, so on and so forth. So we use this model, but there's so many ways to do this. This is what I'm saying. Like the options are endless, right? Because then we can also do 3 exercises and, for example, in 9 minutes. Because remember we talked about our work time, right? Is between that 20 to 30 minute block. Okay, cool. So if we do three blocks of 9 minutes, we got 27 minutes with the breaks. So you're gonna be right around 30. So you can do rope intervals and change it up every 10 seconds. So remember, we want to get our heart rates up to 170 plus. So they're doing rope slams for 10 seconds, in and outs for 10 seconds, swirling the ropes, beating the drums, right? Until they get there. Okay, cool. Now they got a break. Bring that heart rate down to 130. Now we go to ski erg or airdyne, right? We have an energy system kind of area here, right? Push that, boom. Okay, you're done with that. Then we got rotational dynaball slams. And we keep doing that for 9 minutes. And then we have a break, and then we'd have 3 9-minute stations with different exercises. Another model you can do is like this. You could go 4 exercises and 10 minutes in round 1. So the round 1 is 10 minutes, 4 different exercises following this whole getting up to over 85% of your max heart rate, dropping down to below 70, right? But then round 2 is going to be 3 exercises in 8 minutes, and then round 3 is going to be 2 exercises in 6 minutes, right? So as we get more fatigued, less exercises, less time. And again, I could go on, and like based on those different kind of lenses that we look through, right? The different recovery periods. Again, I think that heart rate monitor training is phenomenal. The big thing is getting people to buy into it. Now, real quick example. If somebody doesn't have a heart rate monitor, but we're still doing this, okay? What you end up doing, and this is a great coaching opportunity too. So let's say somebody does kettlebell swings, okay? And you do give them some type of fixed thing, and you go like, hey, listen, I want you to do, 20 kettlebell swings, right? And from there, I want you to just recover. Like once you feel like you can talk to me, meaning like you can go, hey, I'm feeling like I'm pretty rested. Okay, cool, now go. Right, because you can go, because when you're coaching, you can literally see if somebody's like, right, they're not under 130. And then all of a sudden you see them go like, okay. All right, and you go like, hey, Mary, all right, let's go, pick it up. Now, obviously more coaching intensive, not as precise because you don't have the heart rate monitors, but we've done it and it works just fine. Again, you got to be zoned in, right? You got to be walking around and coaching, which is what you should be doing anyways. But this is just another way of doing that zone training. I will say this, when people see that other people have heart rate monitors, they'll go like, and their heart rate is on a big screen, others will be like, how do I get that, right? So this is for anybody that has a gym that wants to kind of bring that up, that's how you do it. So you kind of see now this model. Now what we didn't cover is our mobility model, but again, make sure you check out, if you go and put how to do a rebound workout, I will exactly step-by-step break down a model of how we do our rebound workout / high performance recovery sessions, which include a bunch of mobility, which include some aerobic work, things of that nature. And you'll have the model that we use, although we do a lot of, like I said, in our 45-minute, 50-minute I will say rebound workouts, there'll be about 20 to 25 minutes of actual mobility work. And we'll do different things from, like I said, kin stretch and FRC. So we're doing our pails and rails, we're doing our cars, we're doing our end range liftoffs, we're doing all types of stuff, we're doing flows, right? We're doing some games. Again, so it's fun, people feel better, they improve their mobility, they leave feeling like they're more rejuvenated, right? Because that's our three models. It's density strength, it's intervals, and it's mobility. Okay, and hopefully this gives you a lot of options, but still create a construct for your team training that you can use, that's smart, that people will enjoy. Again, you got to coach your ass off. Again, if you don't have the intent, if you don't have the focus, then it doesn't matter, right? You can't just blast the music and go 3, 2, 1, go. You got to coach. You got to coach a lot, and that's what's going to elevate your game in this industry. Now, listen, if you, again, because some of this is coming, I'm going to go more in detail and build a whole mastery course around team training and semi-private personal training. But if you have not checked out small group personal training mastery, where I break down everything about a small group personal training model, make sure you click the link below. It's in the copy. It's very in-depth. You got an ebook. You got 4 different 2-hour lectures with every single thing that you can imagine, and you got 12 months of programming, and you get a Facebook group where I answer all questions. It's something that you can literally plug and play into your business and build a multiple 6-figure small group personal training business with the exact model that I outlined. So make sure you check that out. But also, I would love to know what you'd like to see more of as we are doing these educational videos, because I will be dropping more of them. Drop that below in the comments. Love and appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Share this if you loved it. I'll see you next time.